We're in the middle of a really fundamental shift in how we handle agreements, how we handle finance itself. We're moving from handshakes and paper contracts to automated, self-executing code. So today, we're going to break down smart contracts and this whole new world of financial automation they're building. And we're basing all of this on some fantastic academic sources from the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid.
So, what's our roadmap? Well, first we'll look at the core idea, the automated agreement. Then we'll dive into the code and logic that makes it all tick. After that, we'll explore the big platforms that form this new economy, see what's being built with them in decentralized finance, and finally, we'll size up the incredible promise versus the very real risks of all this tech.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. The big idea here is this revolutionary shift, a shift away from trusting people and institutions, and instead putting that trust directly into lines of code.
So what is a smart contract really? Well, think of it like a digital contract that actually enforces itself. It's just a program that lives on a blockchain, and it's designed to automatically carry out the terms of an agreement when certain things happen. The consequence of this is huge. It completely gets rid of the need for a middleman, like a bank or a lawyer.
And you might be surprised to hear this, but this idea isn't brand new. It was actually first proposed way back in 1994 by the cryptographer Nick Szabo. This was at the very dawn of e-commerce, and he was already imagining these automated transaction protocols that would be way more secure than traditional contract law, basically by just building the terms of a deal right into the software that runs it.
Okay, so we've got the what and the who. But how does this all actually work in practice? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the code, the logic behind it all, and the pretty amazing advantages this kind of automation creates.
At its core, every single smart contract runs on a super simple but incredibly powerful logic. If this happens, then do that. The best analogy is a digital vending machine, right? If you put in the right amount of money, then the machine automatically gives you your snack. It's the same principle. The conditions are coded, stored on the blockchain for everyone to see, and when the trigger happens, it just works. No cashier, no intermediary, no fuss. And that simple if-then logic is what leads directly to all of these advantages you see here. Because it's code, you get accuracy. The fact that it's on a public ledger gives you total transparency. The automation brings incredible speed and efficiency. And because it's built on a blockchain, you get rock-solid security. It all adds up to a system that gives you autonomy and trust, which means you can get rid of expensive middlemen and bring costs way, way down.
So this powerful code is great, but it has to live somewhere, right? It needs a home to run on. And that brings us to the foundational blockchain platforms that make this entire new ecosystem possible.
Okay, two platforms really stand out as the bedrock here. First, of course, is Ethereum. It's the undisputed pioneer in the space. It's essentially a global computer that lets developers build and run these things. Then you have other giants like Polkadot, which is really focused on solving two of the biggest challenges out there, making sure different blockchains can talk to each other and making sure they can handle a massive number of transactions.
Another major player you need to know about is Cardano. And it's interesting because its mission goes a little beyond just the tech. It launched back in 2017 with this stated goal of bringing about positive global change using its proof-of-stake platform.
And when we're talking about just pure, raw performance, we have to talk about Elrond. This thing is built for speed. It's designed to process an incredible 15,000 transactions a second at a super low cost, which, as you can imagine, is a real game changer in the DeFi world.
Okay, so we've got these incredibly powerful platforms built for speed and scale. So what are developers actually building on them? This is where it gets really interesting, because we're now talking about decentralized finance, or DeFi, and decentralized applications, better known as dApps.
I think this quote from the source material just perfectly sums up the promise of DeFi. Just listen to this. Imagine being able to take out a loan, earn interest on your savings, exchange currencies, or insure your assets, all from your mobile phone without giving your name or signing any paperwork. That's it right there. It's finance without all the traditional gatekeepers.
And getting started is way less complicated than you might think. It honestly just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you get yourself a digital wallet like MetaMask. Second, you get a little bit of cryptocurrency to work with. And third, you just connect that wallet to a DeFi platform, something like Aave for lending or Uniswap for trading. And that's it, you're in.
Now, beyond just pure finance, we've got dApps. And you can think of them just like the apps on your phone, but with one massive, game-changing difference. Instead of running on some company's private server, they run on a decentralized peer-to-peer network. And what that means is that no single person or company is in charge. They're controlled entirely by a smart contract.
And these dApps are everywhere now, across a huge range of categories. You've got video games like My Crypto Heroes. You have decentralized exchanges for finance, like Uniswap, which are massively popular. And you have marketplaces like OpenSea for all kinds of digital goods, from art to collectibles.
The advantages here all flow directly from that decentralized design. With no central server, there's no single point of failure, so you get basically zero downtime. Data on the blockchain can't be changed, which guarantees its integrity. With no central boss, you get real censorship resistance and better privacy. And because the code is often open source, anyone can check it, which creates trust through transparency.
Okay, let's zoom out now and look at the big picture, because with any new technology this powerful, there's always immense promise, but there's also significant peril, and it is absolutely critical to understand both sides of that coin.
This slide really lays out the core tension of DeFi. On one hand, the benefits are just transformative. Anyone with an internet connection can get access, there's complete transparency, and you have total control over your own money. But the risks are just as real. Smart contracts can have bugs, crypto prices are incredibly volatile, and unfortunately, scams are a real problem. And this brings us to a really critical weakness that's baked right into the system's design. It's immutability. Once a smart contract is on the blockchain, its code can never be changed. Now that's a feature, right? It's what creates security and trust. But if that original code has a bug or a flaw, that vulnerability is permanent. It becomes a forever target for hackers. There's just no undo button.
And all of this leads us to our final massive question. We've got this incredibly powerful, automated, but also very rigid technology. We're already seeing traditional banks start to explore it, even adopt parts of it. So the question we're all left with is this: as this tech continues to mature, are we literally witnessing the end of finance as we know it?